Breaking news coming out in the last 24 hours of warnings from the FBI of potential sleeper cell attacks on U.S. cities, on U.S. soil, coming from Iranian sleeper cells. This, as we've seen a new fifth wave of attacks taking place in the Middle East from Iran against Israel, as we're hearing the war is escalating, and also the warnings that things are just going to be increasing from here. Now, let me go ahead and share with you the latest headlines and video footage so that way you can see it for yourself coming out today, June 14th, 2025. Take a look here. Could the U.S. be targeted as Iran retaliates against Israel? This article coming out in the last 24 hours, and the answer they're saying is yes, and to watch out for sleeper cells, which are Iranian groups that have come to the United States with the open border policies over the Biden administration that are already here, ready to activate attacks on U.S. soil. Here's another one. MAGA warns of jihad sleeper cells in the U.S. after Israeli strikes in Iran take place. And coming out in just the past 2 hours, take a look at this. Israel urges the United States to join the war with Iran to eliminate the nuclear programs. Now, the United States has tried to avoid getting directly involved, but let me know your thoughts. Should the United States join the war right now? If you think the U.S. should join in, put yes. If you think no, put no. Now, this is coming after Iran has already directly made a threat to the United States of attacking U.S. military bases in the Middle East. And now you're going to be seeing the footage of them warning directly of attacks here on U.S. soil with sleeper cells. In fact, let's just go ahead and take a look at this clip here. I'm going to play for you the whole thing in a second, but look at this clip of this warning.
What really is a concern, I think, on what could come next from the Iranians if they so choose to escalate, is they might activate their sleeper cells, their terrorist allies around the world or in the United States through years of open borders to hurt the United States directly or to go after Israeli interest here and or abroad. I think that is highly likely, though would be extremely escalatory, and is one of the circumstances that the president has also kind of insinuated would trigger an American response. So
this is the fear that I have, is that even inside the United States, the exact attack that that Israel just carried out inside the borders of Iran, with the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran. Same thing in Israel. That's basically what happened on October 7th when the Hamas went in and attacked Israel. They weren't prepared for that. And so we need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the number one way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware. And that's what's going to prevent the majority of this. But Israel is definitely on top of their game. And right now, Iran should be in panic mode because they don't even have the ability right now at this point to run operations with their proxies because they're fighting for their life.
Yeah, the fear of sleeper cells in the United States is very concerning. It's something that the president is very aware of and trying to mitigate as we speak.
There you have it, you guys. So let me know your thoughts. Now, both of those videos coming out in just the last 24 hours, warnings coming out that there are sleeper cells that the president is very aware of and that they are trying to announce to the United States once again. Now, I'm going to read for you as well the list that I had from the FBI that came out back in 2023, the list of all the cities. So stick around. I'm going to share with you that. I'm also going to go through the articles as the new warnings are coming out yet again that Iran could try to activate sleeper cells in the United States to issue attacks on U.S. soil in retaliation for what is taking place, as Iran is saying they will hold not only Israel but the United States accountable, as the two are working tandem together again in this attack against Iran to eliminate the nuclear threat, hit those nuclear facilities in Iran. So I'm going to dive right in, get you caught up on the latest, and let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned about sleeper cells in the United States? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you hit those yeses or nos, do me a favor, if you haven't done so yet, if you appreciate the updates, I'm bringing for you the latest information as of today, June 14th, 2025. It is currently 7:03 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you appreciate it, take a second, hit that like button for me. That simple gesture, just clicking that little thumbs up, helps spread this out further across the YouTube platform while we are live. To stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? I'm pretty much doing daily updates with the conflicts that are taking place around the world right now. Hit that subscribe button. Like I said, it's free. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. And in addition to that, I cite all the sources, try to hold myself to the highest level of accountability so that way you know exactly where the information's coming from. You can see the dates, the sources. They're all going to be hyperlinked in the description so you can click on the exact articles that I'm referencing, go read them and see them for yourself. And I see a lot of yeses pouring in, people saying that they are concerned of sleeper cells. So hit that like button, subscribe, drop a yes or a no. I'm going to need a drink of water here, and then we will dive into some footage. I see a lot of yeses pouring into the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to it. So that way you can see it for yourself. Let's go ahead and start off with this article that's going to break this down. Now, there's a couple of articles I'm going to share with you that have come out in the last 24 hours, and they're talking about the threats that directly could take place to the United States. Now, we've got one from Fox News, which is going to be verifying this. We've got another one that's coming out that is going to be saying that there is no proof, no evidence that is supporting that there are sleeper cells, although I'm going to share with you the list that was released almost 2 years ago that came out directly from the FBI, so that way you can hear it city by city, some of the warnings that we have already received over the past couple of years. This has been coming out for quite some time. Now the warnings are coming out to be ready. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article here so that way you can see it for yourself. Coming out June 13th, 2025. Could the U.S. be targeted as Iran retaliates against Israel? The Supreme Leader vows to bring Israel to its knees following strategic strikes against nuclear capabilities. Now, this article says Iran has initiated a forceful counterattack on Tel Aviv just as the dust had been to settle on Israel's first round of strikes on Tehran, an operation to wipe out the Iranian regime's nuclear capabilities. Tel Aviv residents were instructed to remain in bomb shelters Friday evening until further notice as the Israeli Defense Forces intercepted an onslaught of missile attacks from Tehran. The U.S. is left to wonder whether it will be drawn into the conflict. And like I share with you in the past 2 hours, articles coming out as Israel saying it is time for the U.S. to enter the war. Iran is already directly threatening you. Do you think the U.S. should jump into this war? Let me know your thoughts. Iran might drag us into it, as you heard, if there are proxy group attacks, sleeper cell attacks in the U.S. Secretary of the State Marco Rubio at first insisted the American government was not involved in the strikes, but President Donald Trump's comments Friday suggested he did not oppose them. Iran claimed that Israel's aggression against Iran could not have been carried out without the coordination and the approval of the United States. So that is why Iran is saying they are also going to be holding the United States accountable. By the way, thank you so much for the super chats. Sorry if I missed your super chats. I appreciate that a ton. I see ALPC, Robert Moody, and Sandy Fetty. Thank you so much for those super chats. Now it says, reading on, if Iran is acting rationally, it has no reason to provoke America into joining offensive attacks on behalf of its ally, Israel. But what if it isn't? I hope and pray that the Iranians don't hit Americans, but it's going to be very hard for the regime to not hit back and not hit back big, one former Pentagon official said. All indications are they feel like they're going to have to hit back hard. Now, another analyst echoed that point but emphasized the emotional toll on Iran's leadership. You're talking about human beings who just watched their country get attacked, and a lot of their close advisors, confidants, probably friends, lost their lives, right? Said Rosemary Kelenic, director of the Middle East Program of Defense Priorities. That's a tough thing for Iran to actually muster to do, but that's clearly the right move for them strategically. Now, Iranians haven't been afraid to attack the U.S. before. They tried to kill Trump and his former advisor Mike Pompeo and John Bolton over the Qasem Soleimani assassination for years. Iran's ability to strike U.S. targets in the region is no secret. It has missiles and drones capable of reaching American bases in Iraq, Syria, and the Gulf. And as Greg Roman, executive director of the Middle East Forum, noted, it has already demonstrated a willingness to use them. Iran has the ability to use its missiles programs and its drones to strike the United States and its bases in the region and in Israel, Roman said. It has threatened to do so. But a bigger concern is the sleeper cells. Iran's ability to operate through proxies even inside the U.S. Thank you so much for that $5 super chat, Barama. I see that. Thank you so much. It says, that's what I'm most worried about, said Roman. And again, let me know, are you concerned about the sleeper cells? Iran has demonstrated that it has the capability to establish infrastructure here inside of the U.S., said Joe Truzman, senior research analyst with FDD's Long War Journal. Whether that's through agents they hire, a proxy force like Hezbollah, or sleeper agents, it's definitely a possibility. A former Pentagon official pointed to Iran's massive missile arsenal, including more cruise and ballistic missiles than the U.S. has interceptors globally. If Iran really decides to throw in its missile force, they could really do a lot of damage, one former official said, particularly in Iraq and Syria, where a lot of our smaller bases are not well defended, not covered by Patriots or THAADs. Now, Iran has a chokehold on Iraq's Shiite military forces. They are the regime's strongest proxy at the moment. The U.S. has around 2,000 forces stationed in Iraq to fight terrorism, and this week evacuated non-essential embassy staff and their families from the embassy there. I let you know as soon as that had come out that the United States had announced to evacuate those areas. Iran may choose to direct its proxy forces in Iraq or Yemen to begin increasing pressure on the U.S. by attacking American targets, said Truzman, to build up enough pressure to compel the U.S. to stop carrying out attacks. For now, Iran appears to be aiming its retaliation, For now, Iran appears to be aiming its retaliation primarily at Israel, not the United States. Right now, most of Iran's violent rhetoric and their attention is on attacking Israeli targets, said Truzman. At this point, I don't think Iran wants to provoke the United States. Still, the situation remains fluid. A lot depends on how Iran perceives the United States' involvement in this conflict right now, he added. The longer this conflict drags on, it is very likely the U.S. military will get more involved. Now, Beni Sabti, Iran expert at the Institution of National Security Studies, said that right now it's convenient for Israel, Iran, and for the United States for Iran to leave the U.S. alone. Kellenick warned that Israel may have made a grave miscalculation. I think this is a huge strategic mistake by Israel, she said. I'm worried that they're going to drag the United States into a giant mess. Now, the U.S. is all about guaranteed to get involved, at least in the defense posture of the help Israel repel Iran's countermoves. The Supreme Leader has vowed to bring Israel to its knees. The U.S. coordinated closely with Israel to fend off Iran's last two counterattacks in April and October of last year. The Zionist regime will not escape unscathed for this crime, the Supreme Leader threatened in a televised address on Friday. So there you have it, you guys. They are saying that sleeper cells are some of the main concerns right now. And as you saw from that video footage, they said that right now that is one of the main things that they are worried about taking place here for the United States specifically, as the U.S. is helping Israel shoot down those Iranian missiles as the conflict continues to grow. And we are hearing now that a fifth wave of attacks have taken place from Iran against Israel, as Iran is threatening Israel and the United States. And those warnings of the sleeper cells are coming out. Let's take a look at this video clip so that way you can see it for yourself. You're going to hear in here the mention of the concerns of sleeper cells being activated right now with the conflict in the Middle East. Then I'm going to be covering for you the entire list that we have that was released of cities on the watch list. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video footage so you can see it for yourself.
Alex Hogan is tracking all the tension. Alex, what's the latest on the ground?
Hi, Brian. The IDF spokesperson speaking directly to the Iranian regime, saying that they should be prepared, that Israel will continue to carry out actions in Iran, saying, quote, the way to Tehran is paved, speaking to the abilities of the Israeli Air Force to go deep into Iran and hit as many as 150 targets. Israel also releasing this footage of the IDF taking out drones as part of the barrages of Iranian drones and missiles that we've seen in the last day. While Israel managed to shoot down Iran's 100 drones yesterday, some missiles made it past the country's air defense systems. This was the night sky here in the city of Tel Aviv, a scene repeated with Iran's multiple waves of attacks from dusk all the way until dawn. Explosions also rocking Jerusalem. Iran fired more than 200 missiles toward Israel, projectiles that lit up the night sky with Israel's air defense systems, aiming to intercept them with the support of U.S. forces. 3 people are dead and 70 are reported wounded, including 7 Israeli soldiers. Now, footage from some of the latest victims here that you can see who are displaced early this morning after strikes that were launched at dawn. Medics helping take people away in wheelchairs, displaced families, kids, people holding pets and rolling suitcases with all of their belongings. Israel early this morning continued to target military sites in Iran. Smoke was seen rising at the Mehrabad International Airport in Tehran. And a senior Israeli intelligence official telling Fox News today that 40 Iranian air defense systems were hit since the beginning of the operation, and at least 20 commanders were killed. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, accusing Israel of starting a war. Israel's defense minister firing back, saying, quote, if Khamenei continues to fire missiles at Israel's home front, Tehran will burn. One of the sites targeted in Israel's Operation Rising Lion was the Natanz nuclear site, Iran's main enrichment facility. That is where Iran was producing uranium enriched up to 60%. The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency announced that the above ground part of this plant that you see above ground, the electricity infrastructure, the emergency power supply, and the backup generators have all been destroyed. Now, Director General Rafael Grossi also going on to say that as far as the radiological levels outside of that plant, they are still at a normal level, meaning that as of right now, there's no indication of harm to the people who live in that area. Brian.
And Alex, President Trump is saying that he is hopeful that this attack by Israel will bring Iran back to the negotiating table. What more can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. That's the comment that we heard the president give to Axios yesterday before he was in the Situation Room. We were expecting to see a 6th round of negotiations take place this weekend. Iran says it's not going to participate in that. Now, the foreign minister is saying that any further talks at this point simply would be unjustifiable. Brian.
Alex Hogan, thank you for your terrific reporting from Tel Aviv. Please stay safe. U.S. officials confirming our military assisted in shooting down Iranian missiles fired at Israel. Mark Meredith is at the White House with more on the Trump administration's response. Mark.
Brian, good morning to you. We've yet to hear from President Trump on camera about this escalating attacks between Israel and Iran. Obviously, the White House closely monitoring the situation, and U.S. officials confirming that they are assisting Israel in its defense from these Iranian attacks. But the administration also keeping out hope that there's a possibility that both sides could de-escalate the situation, while at the same time getting Iran to completely abandon its nuclear program. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke to Fox within the last hour. He said the U.S. remains in a good posture when it comes to its resources in the area, and that they believe that they have the assets they need to get the job done in terms of protecting American personnel stationed overseas. The Wall Street Journal had a chance to speak with President Trump as he spoke to many outlets on Friday by phone. Journal asked him how much of a heads up the president had about all this. This is what he told them. He said, heads up, it wasn't a heads up. I knew it was going on. What was going on? The president says he has repeatedly urged Iran to make a deal. Iran's top diplomat says talks with the U.S., though, are, quote, unjustifiable given the events of the last 48 hours. Up on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are watching these developments too. Top Democrats agreeing with the White House that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, but some are also calling for restraint. Republicans tell Fox Iran has long posed a threat to the U.S. and its allies.
Remember, it's not just a threat to Israel or our friends in the region. It's a threat to the United States. They don't just chant death to Israel, they chant death to America, and they're working on missiles that can hit us here in America.
We know that the president has been working the phone, speaking not only to reporters, but as U.S. allies, including the head of Israel, regarding the situation. We have yet, though, to hear from the president on camera today. We've got that big military parade, Brian, so we'll look to see if the president says anything as he attends the festivities. Brian.
Mark Meredith live at the White House. Mark, thank you. With more now on the continuing attacks, Brent Sadler, a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation and retired U.S. Navy captain. Brent, thank you so much for being here. A lot to discuss. Israel has damaged Iran's nuclear capability. To what extent? We're not entirely sure quite yet. If Israel does not, I guess the way to say this is, would it be a failure, this mission, a failure, if they do not completely eliminate Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And again, happy birthday to the Army. They turned 250 today. And the question is an important one, and it was always going to be very risky on Israel or anyone else to try to take out Iran's nuclear enterprise, their weapons program. And the only way that there's any surety that you got everything is getting access to the documents, and as well as all the sites to prove that you've destroyed it or degraded it completely. So we're never going to get a satisfactory answer until we've got that boots on the ground, inspector boots that is, inside Iran to verify that everything has been destroyed. If it's not, then it's just a question about how long till Iran reconstitutes. And the question of success or failure is something that's going to be judged either in months or years, depending on what type of Iran or Iranian regime comes out the other side of this conflict.
Brett, what should the United States do now in terms of helping Israel? We obviously, the president, based on the president's comments, we were aware of these attacks. We gave the green light. We've helped him in the defense from these ballistic missile attacks. What should the United States do next? Should they provide the bunker buster weaponry needed to completely eliminate the nuclear capabilities of Iran? Should we take a next step if they're not willing to come to the negotiating table, which as of now doesn't seem like they are?
So just to restate, I think the course that's been laid out and what the president has restated numerous times is the preference and what is in America's best interest is not to get directly involved in a conflict with Iran, but at the same time, this regime must not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon to include any level of processing or refinement of uranium. So that is the objective. If it requires putting on the table for Israel to get more capable weapon systems, I think that is something that should be done. I'm not sure that's necessary for success. But again, the longer that the regime in Tehran decides to take a very belligerent posture and not enter into negotiations to end that nuclear program of theirs, I think the pressure will have to go up. I think the Israelis are prepared to do that, especially coming in the coming days if Iran doesn't show up on Sunday for the 6th round of talks.
So the risk here obviously is further escalation. So what do you think Iran does next? We've seen reports of Iranian lawmakers talking about threatening shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, which would affect the economy, not quite as much as it would have years ago. Our dependence on oil is less, but nonetheless, do you expect Iran to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? Do you expect them, or if not, what else do you expect them to do?
Yeah, so first on the Strait of Hormuz, in years past, the Iranians used that for, as blackmail. They would threaten the United States of shutting or cutting off the oil flow through the Straits of Hormuz. That doesn't really bother us as much as it does our allies in Europe and in Northeast Asia. So it's not a direct American, concern, as so to speak. So the leverage that the Iranian regime has is lesser there. What really is a concern, I think, on what could come next from the Iranians if they so choose to escalate, is they might activate their sleeper cells, their terrorist allies around the world or in the United States through years of open borders to hurt the United States directly or to go after Israeli interest here and or abroad. I think that is highly likely. Though would be extremely escalatory and is one of the circumstances that the president also kind of insinuated would trigger an American response. So other than the ballistic missiles, that's really the only other option the Iranians have.
It sounds like you think escalation is likely here, not de-escalation, at least in the short term, based on what you were just telling us, Brent. Yes. That's correct? Yes. Okay. Brent Sadler, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As you heard that is one of the main concerns right now, is the potential attack of Iran on the United States, and they said that there could be ballistic missiles fired at the United States, but more concerning, they said, is the sleeper cells that they believe have already entered into the United States over the course of the last 4 years with the open borders with the Biden administration, that they are already here, they are prepared, and they're ready to activate, and they're concerned that this could be coming. Now, let me know in the comments, yes or no, are you concerned about sleeper cells in the United States? The warnings coming out in the last 24 hours since we've seen the Middle East erupt with attacks between Israel and Iran, now a fifth wave of attacks from Iran against Israel. Now, I'm going to read for you an article that has come out, and it is going to be coming out from Newsweek, where they're saying no. They believe there's no foundation to be concerned about sleeper cells taking place. However, I'm going to be playing a video clip coming out from a former FBI director that is saying he is very concerned about the potential of attacks in the United States, in our cities, on our soil, from sleeper cells coming directly from Iran. Now, we're going to look at those in just a second, but first, let's cover the list. And if you appreciate me covering this information for you, do me a favor here very quickly. Hit that like button. Just help spread this out further across the YouTube platform. But let's go ahead and take a look at this list so that way you can hear what it is that came out. Now, this is information that I reported on November of 2023, as this was provided, an FBI sleeper cell list where they believe that there are sleeper cells that they are monitoring in the United States, keeping an eye on, watching to see what is taking place here. Now, it says the list, first on the list is Washington, D.C. There is a sleeper cell in D.C. All throughout New York. They don't even specify locations, just New York is full of various sleeper cells. San Francisco, California. Santa Clara, California. Los Angeles, California. San Diego, California. Houston, Texas. Arlington, Texas. Dallas, Texas. Boca Raton, Florida. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Orlando, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Boston, Massachusetts. Playfield, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois. Cleveland, Ohio. Laurel, Maryland. Potomac, Maryland. Herndon, Virginia. Springfield, Virginia. Raleigh, North Carolina. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Charlotte, North Carolina. Detroit, Michigan. Columbia, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri. Denver, Colorado. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Tucson, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington. Now, if I just named your city on the list, put yes in the comments. If I did not name your city, put no. And again, this is not a comprehensive list of all the ones that could be out there. This is just the ones that we have received warnings from the FBI. This was back in November of 2023 when I first reported this to you. I'll go ahead and go through this list one more time, and then we're going to take a look at the articles coming out in the last 24 hours about the warnings of sleeper cells in the United States, and also the warnings coming out from FBI. So again, that list one more time for you is Washington, D.C., all throughout the state of New York. There's no specified cities, just New York is covered with sleeper cells that they are watching for. San Francisco, California. Santa Clara, California. Los Angeles, California. San Diego, California. Houston, Texas. Arlington, Texas. Dallas, Texas. Boca Raton, Florida. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Orlando, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Boston, Massachusetts. Playfield, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois. Cleveland, Ohio. Laurel, Maryland. Potomac, Maryland, Herndon, Virginia, Springfield, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan, Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Denver, Colorado, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Tucson, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington. Again, this is the list that we had received that the FBI had, they believe, sleeper cells that they are watching in these areas. These are just the ones that we know of, and they have been watching them over the past 4 years as we had the open border policies, and they said that we have had Iranians from various terrorist groups that have come into the United States. They are set up waiting to activate, and there are concerns that the activation is about to take place right now. Now, like I said, I covered the articles for you. Take a look here. We already covered this one that discussed the details of it. Let's take a look at this one coming out from Newsweek that's saying that there is no foundation for these claims. But I'm going to play for you some video footage here in a second, just like the one we just watched, that is saying otherwise. And again, let me know, are you concerned about sleeper cells inside of the United States? And don't forget, take a second, hit that like button. Just helps spread this out further so more people can get the latest updated information. And to stay up to date, subscribe. It's totally free. Now you can see the date here, June 13th, 2025. This has come out just yesterday. MAGA warns of jihadi sleeper cells in the U.S. after Israeli strikes on Iran. Now, the article says several prominent Make America Great Again figures, such as Laura Loomer, have posted online warning about unverified potential jihadist sleeper cells that they claim could be activated in response to Israel's attacks on Iran. Now, there is no evidence that the American public is at risk. However, as you saw from the video footage we just watched, the one I'm going to share with you in a second, and the lists that have been provided already by the FBI, it would appear otherwise than what this article is claiming. The FBI declined to comment to Newsweek. Newsweek also reached out to the State Department for a comment via email on Friday. Now, here's why it matters. Because Israel launched strikes across multiple locations in Iran on Thursday, announcing the start of Operation Rising Lion, an effort that it said was aimed at preempting a reportedly planned Iranian attack and disrupting Iran's nuclear capabilities. Iran's nuclear program has long been a focus point of the U.S. and Israeli concerns, with Tehran insisting its efforts are solely for energy purposes. Sleeper cells refers to covert terrorist operatives who remain inactive until they are activated, a concept that gained heightened attention following the September 11th attacks. Now, in the aftermath, Islamophobia and xenophobia surged, with people from Iran and other countries in the region often stereotyped and wrongly associated with terrorism despite no evidence of wrongdoing or malicious activities. Now, the MAGA movement, rooted in America First ideology, frequently raises alarm over immigration and national security. Alarmist information on social media often circulates quickly. Now, here's what to know. Following Israeli airstrikes on Iran that ended the lives of several top officials and struck a main uranium enrichment plant in Natanz, many MAGA voices have warned about the potential repercussions statewide. Loomer, a conservative personality and supporter of President Donald Trump, warned Americans about going out in public, writing on X, formerly Twitter, "Be very careful today and this weekend in American cities and tourist locations, especially if you are going to be in Washington, D.C." And again, Washington, D.C. was the first one on the list. Her comments are in reference to the expected celebrations and protests in the Capitol on Saturday for President Donald Trump's 79th birthday and the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, and hundreds of No King demonstrations. And if you haven't heard, the No King demonstrations took place today, June 14th, 2025, in various cities as people protested against Donald Trump, saying that the United States should not have a king, and they are saying that Donald Trump is acting like a king. Let me know your thoughts. Do you support President Donald Trump and what he is doing for America right now? If you do, drop a 47 in the comments. If you don't, put a 46 for the previous administration. Now, plans for the parade called for some 6,600 soldiers, at least 150 vehicles, and 50 helicopters to follow a route from Arlington, Virginia to the National Mall, according to documents obtained by the Associated Press. Iran has many sleeper cells in the United States, Loomer wrote. Iranian proxies from Hamas and Hezbollah will likely retaliate on U.S. soil to end the lives of Americans in acts of Islamic terror as a form of retaliation to the Israeli airstrikes. So there's our direct warnings about sleeper cells in the United States attacking U.S. cities. There is no public evidence to back her claims. She concluded her post without citing any data by saying, "There are millions of jihadist sleeper cells in our country thanks to the Democrats' open border policies." Charlie Kirk, the conservative founder and president of the Turning Point USA, added a similar sentiment in a Friday post, writing, "Keep your head on a swivel. Biden let millions of people into America. Iran might activate some sleeper cells against Americans." He concluded his post by calling for Americans to prepare by taking up arms, writing, "Stay armed." The U.S. Intelligence Committee's annual threat assessment warns that Iran also will continue to directly threaten U.S. personnel globally and remains committed to its dedicated decade-long effort to develop surrogate networks inside of the United States. However, unlike the social media warnings, the assessment said Iran seeks to target former and current U.S. officials it believes were involved in the assassination of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quad Force Commander Qassem Soleimani in January of 2020. The United States designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. Silver Sister, thank you for that super chat. Appreciate that a ton. So here's what people are saying. Jack Posebek, conservative activist on X on Thursday night, said, breaking, FBI reportedly mobilizing counterterrorism task force on alert status for potential Iranian sleeper cell activities. And again, I shared with you video footage warning of this. I'm going to share with you some more here in just a second. Robbie Starbuck, a filmmaker who campaigns against the DEIE policies on X on Friday, wrote, there's a very real risk of Iranian sleeper cells attacking on the U.S. on our soil. I would avoid taking your family to large gatherings at the moment out of an abundance of caution until things settle down. Security must be increased all around. Graham Allen, who works for the Department of Defense, wrote on X, stay home tomorrow. Iran has sleeper cells everywhere. Do not go to the No King's Day protest for content. Do not give them the opportunity. So here's what happens next. Thousands of attendees are expected to attend the military parade in Washington, D.C. Israel has said that its strikes against Iran will continue for days. Iranian counterattacks are expected. So there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Sleeper cells in the United States. Warnings coming out. Now, this Newsweek article saying there's no foundation for these. However, we're hearing warnings left and right. I played for you video footage of these warnings. The FBI has issued warnings, and I've read for you the entire list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But let me go ahead and play for you some video footage. And then also, we're going to be reading here in just a second, Israel is calling for the United States to become directly involved in the war that's happening in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts. Should the U.S. begin attacking Iran as well and become directly involved in the war? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But let's take a look at some video footage of warnings, more warnings coming out of sleeper cells and potential retaliation from Iran against the United States. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, good morning to you. I want to talk to you about what has led to this moment in time. When you think about since October 7th, what Israel was capable of doing with the pager attack against Hezbollah, where Hamas stands right now, and where the Houthis that have, with the help of the United States, been very much decimated in their capabilities to strike back. All of that leading to this moment that we sit in right now.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting when we look at this, Israel has actually evolved back to the out-of-the-box thinking and the tactics of eliminating your enemy like it was in before World War II and during World War II. After that, the world moved to a different way of fighting. And we've seen a tremendous amount of advances in techniques and evolution of warfare in Ukraine and Russia. And the way that the Iranian intel services in China use social media, for instance, to actually form social issues within other nations. And now we see this, where Israel has gone back and systematically taken out the proxies. Now, this is very important because Iran does not fight their own wars outside of their borders. They use proxies. And I don't know if most people realize that. They have targeted Israel over and over using Hamas, Hezbollah. They went after Israel's strategic targets using the Houthis. And so somewhere along the way, Israel figured this out. And I think this is part of at least a three-pronged operation. First was the intel gathering about Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran themselves, along with the Houthis. And then they started carrying out attacks to really just cripple Hamas and Hezbollah. We, like, as you just said, helped with the Houthis. But along that way, there was an initial attack inside of Iran. It tested their air defenses. We saw that they were horrible. And it showed that Iran did not have the ability to go the distance all the way over themselves into Israel and actually effectively attack Israel. So with all of that in place and understanding all that and all those different missions working, they were able to then go and start putting these operatives inside Iran and setting up for the big attack. And I think the rest of the world needs to realize that this is the way war fighting has evolved, and Israel is successful because they did it that way. They didn't just do it politically.
So, Jonathan, what do you think Iran is doing right now? Are they calling up their proxies that have been severely degraded over the past year and a half and saying, help us strike back?
Well, so here's where the real issue, I think, of the future for all of us comes into play, is that we constantly call, and I've heard several guests call Iran the terrorists of the region. But the reality is terrorism is a tactic that they use. Their ideology is fundamental Islam. And this has been a case for thousands of years. And Iran has never evolved or progressed to where they work things out diplomatically. You could never trust them. And so with this fundamentalism, this is the fear that I have, is that even inside the United States, the exact attack that Israel just carried out inside the borders of Iran, with the way that our border was down for 4 years, there could be cells here that could be activated by Iran or proxies and groups that are loyal to Iran. Same thing in Israel. That's basically what happened on October 7th when the Hamas went in and attacked Israel. They weren't prepared for that. And so we need to be prepared. Israel needs to be prepared for those types of attacks. And the number one way to do that is for the citizenry to be aware. And that's what's going to prevent the majority of this. But Israel is definitely on top of their game. And right now, Iran should be in panic mode because they don't even have the ability right now at this point to run operations with their proxies because they're fighting for their life.
Yeah, the fear of sleeper cells in the United States is very concerning. It's something that the president is very aware of and trying to mitigate as we speak. Jonathan, thank you for joining us this morning.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Again, warnings coming out of sleeper cell attacks potentially coming to the United States. Iran sleeper cells being activated. Now, this comes as we're hearing in the past 2 hours, articles coming out that Israel is urging the United States to enter into the war. Let me know your thoughts again. Should the United States do this? Yes or no? Take a look at the latest article with me. This coming out from Axios 2 hours ago. Israel urges the U.S. to join the war with Iran to eliminate the nuclear program. This is because, as you know, Iran does not just shout death to Israel, but death to Israel, death to the United States. They call Israel the little Satan, the United States the big Satan. Nuclear weapons, they say, are not just an existential threat to Israel, but also to the United States. And now there are direct threats coming out from Iran to the United States as well. And they have said that Iran was enriching uranium. They were literally within a week or two of getting to 90% enrichment of the uranium, which would be weapons grades. And they said with the amount that they have, that would equate to 10 nuclear bombs that they believe Iran could have and they could use on Israel or on the United States. So right now, that is why we're seeing articles like this coming out, as we're hearing Israel is urging the United States to just go in and enter the war. Let me go ahead and get you caught up on the latest so that way you can see it for yourself. Israel has asked Trump's administration over the past 48 hours to join the war with Iran in order to eliminate its nuclear program, according to 2 Israeli officials. Now, the big picture, Israel lacks the bunker buster bombs and large bombers aircrafts needed to destroy Iran's Fordow uranium enrichment site, which is built into a mountain and deep underground. Now, the United States has both within flying distance of Iran. Now, but the Trump administration has so far distanced itself from Israel's operation and argued that it would be illegitimate for Iran to retaliate by striking U.S. targets. Directly attacking Iran even if the U.S. involvement is limited to bombing a single site, would pull the United States directly into war. However, if Fordo remains operational after the operation ends, Israel will have failed in its goal to eliminate Iran's nuclear program, so they must hit that particular site. An Israeli official claimed to Axios that the U.S. might join in the operations, and that President Trump even suggested that he do so if necessary in a recent conversation with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A White House official denied that on Friday. A second U.S. official confirmed on Saturday that Israel has urged the Trump administration to join the war, but said currently the administration is not considering it. So at this time, they are saying that the United States is saying they are not on board with this. A senior White House official told Axios on Saturday that whatever happens today cannot be prevented, referring to Israel's attacks. So again, this coming out right now in the last 24 hours. They're saying this coming out 2 hours ago. But we have the ability to negotiate a successful, peaceful resolution to this conflict if Iran is willing. The fastest way for Iran to accomplish peace is to give up its nuclear weapons program, the senior official added. So here's what they're saying. The entire operation really has to be completed with the elimination of Fordo. Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Yechi Letir, told Fox News on Friday. Israeli officials have raised the idea of U.S. participation to take out Fordo with U.S. counterparts since Israel's operation began. Israel saying, the United States, we need you to come in, make sure that we get this operation completed by taking out all nuclear facilities. An Israeli source said the U.S. is considering the request and stressed Israel hopes Trump will agree. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are we about to see the United States enter into the war? This article coming out 2 hours ago. Let me know your thoughts. If you think the United States is going to war, put a 3 in the comments. If you think no, we're going to avoid it, drop a 4 in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Now, like I said, warnings of sleeper cell attacks directly on U.S. soil from Iran, and they're saying that if we get directly involved, that could equate to just that. However, we will see, because right now, as we speak, the war is taking place in the Middle East right now, and we're hearing there has been a 5th wave of attacks from Iran on Israel as they are going back and forth. Let's go ahead and take a look at this so that way you can see it for yourself. The waves that are taking place right now, today, June 14th, 2025. And again, if you haven't done so yet and you appreciate the live stream update, giving you the latest news, take a second, hit that like button for me. Let's take a look at some video footage so you can see it for yourself. And in a second, for those of you that hopped on a little bit late, I'm going to go ahead and read the list of the cities from the FBI again in just a second.
Iran began firing more missiles into Israel moments ago. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is live from Tel Aviv with more on that. Trey.
Yeah, John, we have some video captured by our cameraman, Yaniv Turgeman. Off in the skyline, we could see these incoming ballistic missiles. They appeared as if they were headed toward the port city of Haifa in northern Israel. The entirety of the country has gotten an alert to head into bomb shelters. This is still an ongoing event, but you can see this video here just captured by Fox News as these missiles were streaming through the skies of Israel. We do know some of them were intercepted. We could hear some distant booms as some of the advanced missile defense systems were engaging these incoming ballistic missiles. But this is an indication that the Iranians have now launched a 5th wave over the past 24 hours, targeting different parts of Israel. We don't know yet how many of these missiles actually landed and hit targets, but we can tell you this is a significant attack for all of them to come at one time. Certainly, we could see from our vantage point more than 15 of them all flying through the skies of Tel Aviv. And again, this was in the distance because if you go along the coast from Tel Aviv north along the Mediterranean, you'll get to the port city of Haifa. And it does appear that was the city that was targeted. You saw earlier today those images from the aftermath of a ballistic missile strike in central Israel, completely destroying an entire block in a neighborhood, killing 2 people and injuring dozens of others. These are very significant and powerful missiles that the Iranians are using, and reports right now indicate that the Israelis are striking a variety of different targets in Iran. I'm just reading from my phone here, John, because there are some initial reports coming in from Haifa of at least one impact. And again, we have this video showing you what it was like as these missiles were soaring through the skies of Israel. And again, the initial reports, at least one impact. But when you watch this video, it appears there could be even more than that. We will, in the minutes and hours ahead, get more information from local authorities and, of course, from the IDF to understand just how extensive this recent barrage was. But what we can report at this hour, Iran has launched a fifth wave of ballistic missiles against Israel, targeting the northern port city of Haifa. John?
It is described as like trying to hit a bullet with a bullet when you intercept one of these ballistic missiles, Trey. So although Israel has done amazing things with its Iron Dome and David's sling systems, other anti-ballistic missile systems, you know, low flying and high flying, some will get through, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. And Israeli officials tell us the Americans are indeed helping to shoot down these incoming missiles. They're likely using the Patriot system or even the THAAD system to do so. It's very expensive to shoot down these missiles, and it does take time to prepare the air defenses. And so this is something both the Americans and the Israelis are working on daily, trying to ensure that they are prepared for more barrages of ballistic missiles. And one senior Israeli intelligence source that I spoke with earlier today said, look, they want this conflict to be over in a matter of days, and they believe they can succeed in that objective. But this official warned it will be a very difficult week for the Israeli people, telling civilians to brace for the reality that there will be more damage and more casualties here in Israel, given the fact that the Iranians have one of the most advanced missile programs in the Middle East. We know they have supplied the Russians with missiles that are being used in Ukraine. We have seen the destruction these missiles have caused to major population centers here in Israel, and they are targeting a variety of different things here, making it very challenging for the Israelis to decide where to put their air defense systems, when to activate them, and how to shoot down this amount of fire that's currently happening. John?
Meantime, Prime Minister Netanyahu suggested that there will be more attacks on Iran, that they have many more targets available to them, and that they intend to decapitate Iran's nuclear program. So as these missiles are flying at Israel, there could easily be Israeli attacks on Iran going on right now as well, right?
Absolutely, and I don't want to speculate much on why Haifa is the current target for the Iranians, but we should look at something that happened earlier today. An Israeli official speaking to Fox News said that the Israelis targeted a gas field belonging to the Iranians in the southern part of the country, near to Bandar Abbas. This is very close to the Strait of Hormuz. And it was an indication that the Israelis were looking to send a message to the Iranian regime that they will now start to go after energy infrastructure targets, something that the Iranians previously said would raise everything up a step on the escalation ladder. Because we do have to keep all of this in mind, despite the war that has erupted. And this is a war. People here are calling it a conflict, an exchange of fire. It is a war between the two countries. They are exchanging fire. They are killing people. But amid this war, there are certain red lines that each side has, and energy infrastructure is one of them. And so as we look forward, we can expect both the Israelis and the Iranians to adjust what they're trying to hit. And we heard earlier today from President Trump saying that he wants to see all of this conflict end. And so the question is, will the Israelis and the Americans be able to say enough or do enough to get the Iranians back to the negotiating table? At this point, that seems far-fetched. But this can't go on forever, and that is the big question that ultimately will come after this round of violence slows down and the missile fire that we have seen toward this country slows down. People will start to discuss what comes next, and there is a question of if there will be room for diplomacy or if this will just relentlessly continue. There are certainly many here who say the Israelis will continue to go after both Iran's nuclear program and also a variety of senior officials there to ensure that they meet their objectives. And an Israeli source telling Fox News today there are three objectives: to weaken Iran's nuclear program, to take out the country's ballistic missile program, and to stop what this source calls an existential threat to Israel's safety and security. And this source says if they're able to do that, they would end this round of conflict with Iran. John.
It shouldn't be lost on our viewers that President Trump said that Iran had 60 days to come to the table, make serious concessions, and maybe get rid of or at least significantly curtail its nuclear program. And these attacks by Israel came on day 61. I have that right, don't I, Trey?
John, you're exactly right. And these strikes that the Israelis launched against Iran came just days before 6 rounds of nuclear talks were set to take place in Oman. You know, President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, was channeling those messages back and forth, trying to get an agreement. President Trump has said from the very beginning that he actually sees a prosperous future for Iran, real opportunity for the Iranian people, but that they have to make a deal. And he laid out that 60-day time frame. And just after that time frame is when these Israeli strikes started. And so, again, we hear from American officials. We still hear from President Trump about this conflict and about the possibility of diplomacy prevailing. And he's made clear he still wants a deal. And the question is how far Iran is willing to go, how many senior officials they're willing to lose, how much of their nuclear and missile program they're willing to have destroyed before they come back to the table. John.
Trey Yingst doing a great job reporting live from Tel Aviv at a very tense time in that part of the world as the missiles continue to rain down, apparently on the port city of Haifa in northern Israel. Trey and our team there will continue to keep an eye on the situation. We will update you as best we can.
There you have it, you guys. Now, that was 3 hours ago that we saw that 5th round coming from Iran against Israel. And so I'm going to continue to keep you up to date on this. Right now, we are hearing that they are saying America must take into consideration their involvement in the war. What is going to be happening with the next steps? Like, as I mentioned to you, the articles coming out in the last 24 hours, could the U.S. be targeted for Iran's retaliation against Israel? The U.S., we're hearing, could be targeted. I played for you video clips while we've been live of the warnings that are coming out. Articles coming out saying that MAGA is warning of jihadi sleeper cells in the United States after strikes on Iran, and Israel is calling for the United States to join into the war. And again, I'm going to read through this list for you so that way if you're hopping on a little bit late, you can hear the warnings. Now, this came out back in 2023. I reported it to you when it had come out. I still have this list. This is the warnings that came out from the FBI of various cities where they know that there are sleeper cells that they are currently watching, and they're saying to be mindful if you live in these cities because they know that there are sleeper cells in these locations that could be activated. And like I said, the clips coming out warning that they believe that this could be the next step for Iran because they're not only planning to retaliate against Israel, but against the United States as well. Now, the list with the FBI sleeper cells include Washington, D.C., all throughout the state of New York, San Francisco, California, Santa Clara, California, Los Angeles, California, San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Boca Raton, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Boston, Massachusetts, Playfield, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Cleveland, Ohio, Laurel, Maryland, Potomac, Maryland, Harridan, Virginia, Springfield, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan, Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Denver, Colorado, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Tucson, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington. Now let me know, was your city on the list? If it was, put yes. If no, put no. And if you appreciate that I'm providing you with the latest information, take a second if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button. I'm going to go through this one more time for you. The FBI sleeper cell list, Washington, D.C., all throughout the state of New York. They said there are so many sleeper cells in New York. They didn't even list a city, just New York is full of them. San Francisco, California, Santa Clara, California, Los Angeles, California, San Diego, California, Houston, Texas, Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Boca Raton, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Boston, Massachusetts, Playfield, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Cleveland, Ohio, Laurel, Maryland, Potomac, Maryland, Harridan, Virginia, Springfield, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan, Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Denver, Colorado, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Tucson, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington. Now, if I did not name your city, it does not mean that there is not a sleeper cell that potentially could be in your city. This is the list that was released about a year and a half ago from the FBI Director Wray, with the warnings of these attacks that could be coming. They said during the Biden administration, with the open border policies they believe that they poured into the United States, that there are established sleeper cells that are ready to be activated to initiate attacks should Iran deem it is time. And they're saying that they believe that time could be now with everything that is going on. So we will see. I will keep you up to date. The war is escalating. The United States, they're wondering what is going to be the involvement of all of this. And Israel, we're hearing, has vowed they're going to keep the pressure up on Iran. Iran is launching retaliatory attacks as we speak. And I'll be sure to keep you guys up to date on everything and let you know what to watch out for specifically here in the United States. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And also, I always say, don't be scared, be prepared. Information, the application of knowledge is power. They say knowledge is power, but the application of it is power. So don't be scared. Be prepared, be in the know. Also, a stockpile list down below if you want iodide potassium tablets, if you're concerned about thyroid exposure to radiation, should there be some sort of nuclear detonation that were to take place. It's like $15 to get it. I got an Amazon link down below, several different things to stock up on. And I will keep you guys up to date on everything. Also, all the articles, they are cited in the description. Click the links. You can read them for yourself. And I'll keep you up to speed as more comes out so you know exactly what is taking place. And if you appreciate that, again, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Hit the like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. But thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless.